Let's face it, you're here because you've had that nagging question in the back of your mind. Why do they keep choosing someone else? Despite all the effort you pour into proving your worth, they still don't seem to notice you the way you want. You've been bending over backward, sacrificing your own priorities, and making yourself constantly available, only to feel invisible in return. It's exhausting, isn't it? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your efforts might be doing more harm than good. By always being there, always giving, and always proving, you're not making yourself more valuable, you're making yourself less visible. People don't respect what's handed to them freely. They value what they have to work for. This isn't about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about Stoicism, finding your inner strength, detaching from the need for external approval, and creating a life where you are the priority. This shift is transformational. It's not just about becoming their first choice, it's about becoming someone who doesn't need to be chosen to feel whole. Today I'm going to show you how. In this guide, we'll explore 8 powerful principles that will flip the script. From mastering detachment to setting high standards and forging real connections, these aren't tricks or gimmicks. They're strategies grounded in authenticity and self-respect. Ideas that, when applied, will not only change how others see you, but, more importantly, how you see yourself. Ready to take control of your narrative? Let's start with the first, and perhaps most important shift. Choosing yourself first. 1. Shift the focus. Choose yourself first. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, why am I so focused on being chosen by them? It's a hard question, because it forces you to look inward. Often we seek validation from others because deep down, we struggle to validate ourselves. We tie our self-worth to their approval, waiting for that one moment when they'll finally see us as enough. But here's the reality. That moment won't come until you. Imagine this. You're standing in front of a mirror. What do you see? Are you proud of the person looking back at you, or do you feel like something's missing? If you're waiting for someone else to fill that gap, you'll be waiting forever. Choosing yourself isn't about arrogance or selfishness, it's about recognizing your own value. When you constantly prioritize someone else's needs over your own, you're sending a message, not just to them, but to yourself, that you don't matter. It's time to change that. Start by asking yourself, what does a life where I am the priority look like? This shift isn't easy. You might feel guilty at first, as if choosing yourself means abandoning others. But think about this. When you're constantly giving without replenishing your own energy, what's left for anyone else? Choosing yourself first isn't just better for you, it's better for everyone around you. It sets a standard, showing others how to treat you. Here's the secret. When you start prioritizing yourself, people notice. They're drawn to the confidence and purpose that come with it. Suddenly, you're not chasing their attention, it's chasing you. The energy changes. You're no longer the backup plan or the safe option. You're the one they can't stop thinking about, not because you begged for their validation, but because you exude self-worth. Affirm this to yourself. I am choosing myself first. Choosing yourself isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. But with every small step you take, you're building a life that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. And that's where real attraction begins, not with trying to be their first choice, but with becoming someone who chooses themselves every single day. 2. Set and maintain high standards. Let's get brutally honest for a moment. How often have you lowered your standards in the hope that someone would finally choose you? Maybe you told yourself, if I'm more agreeable, more flexible, or less demanding, they'll want me more. It sounds noble in theory, but in reality, every time you compromise your standards, you send a message to yourself and others that you're okay with being treated as a second choice. And let me ask you this, is that how you want to live? Think of your standards as a reflection of your self-respect. When you accept less than you deserve, you're teaching others how to treat you. They learn that you'll settle for inconsistency, half-hearted effort, or even outright disrespect. But when you set clear boundaries, when you decide, this is what I expect, and I won't accept less, something shifts. People start seeing you as someone with value, someone they have to rise to meet. Imagine walking into a high-end restaurant. You wouldn't expect to be served a half-cooked meal, right? You'd demand quality because you know the reputation of the place, the price you're paying, and the standard it promises. So why are you accepting half-hearted treatment in your relationships? Why are you letting someone give you scraps of attention when you know you deserve more? Setting high standards isn't about being difficult or impossible to please. It's about recognizing your worth. It's about saying, I won't settle for less than what aligns with my values. And yes, some people will walk away when they realize they can't meet your standards. That's okay. Let them go. They're not the ones meant for you. Here's where it gets tough. It's not enough to set standards, you have to keep them. It's easy to say you value respect, honesty, or consistency, but when you're feeling lonely, tired, or desperate for attention, those values can waver. You might tell yourself, maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I need to compromise. But let me remind you, compromising your standards is compromising yourself. And nothing, not attention, not companionship, is worth that. Here's a powerful affirmation to guide you. I honor my standards because I honor myself. But what if setting high standards drives people away? Let me reframe that fear for you. The ones who leave aren't rejecting you. They're removing themselves because they're not ready to meet your level. And that's a good thing. By sticking to your standards, you're creating space for the right people to enter your life. People who respect you, who see your value, and who are willing to meet you where you are. Think about this shift. The moment you set a standard and keep it, you feel stronger. You're no longer chasing people or settling for less. You're standing firm in your worth. And that sense of self-respect is magnetic. People can't help but notice it. It's the quiet confidence that says, I know my value, and I won't accept less than I deserve. So how do you put this into action? Start small. Identify one standard you've been neglecting. Maybe it's requiring consistent communication, prioritizing honesty, or refusing to accept disrespect. Write it down. Commit to it. And the next time someone crosses that boundary, stand firm. You don't have to argue or explain yourself. A simple, this doesn't work for me is enough. Trust me, the people who value you will adjust. The ones who don't, they'll drift away, and that's their loss, not yours. Think of your standards as a gate. The higher they are, the harder it is for just anyone to walk into your life and take a piece of your energy. The ones who truly value you will rise to meet those standards, and that's exactly what you want, quality over quantity, every time. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have a handful of people in your life who deeply respect and value you, or a crowd of people who take you for granted? The answer is obvious, and the path to that life starts with setting and keeping high standards. If this resonates with you, hit that like button right now. It's a small step that shows you're committed to valuing yourself. And if you're ready to start holding yourself to a higher standard, drop number 1 in the comments, because today you're choosing to make yourself the priority. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore, and you don't want to miss the next steps in this journey. Your transformation starts here, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. 3. Master detachment. Have you ever noticed how hard you hold on to the idea of being chosen by someone? How much energy you pour into hoping, waiting, and proving, all in the belief that if you just give enough, they'll finally see your worth. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. And here's the painful truth. It's draining you while giving them no reason to value you. Detachment is the answer. But let me clarify, detachment doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It doesn't mean you stop caring about people altogether. Instead, it's about shifting the center of gravity in your life back to yourself. It's about learning to let go of the desperate need for their approval and reclaiming the power you've unknowingly given away. Imagine this: you're a rare, priceless gem. But instead of being displayed in a setting that reflects your value, you're sitting in a bargain bin with a take-it-for-free sign. How do you think people will treat you? They won't see your worth because you're giving yourself away so easily. This is the trap you're in when you're constantly available, constantly giving, and constantly waiting for them to choose you. The first step in mastering detachment is to recognize the imbalance. Ask yourself, why am I so willing to give all my time and energy to someone who isn't lifting a finger for me? That question might sting, but it's necessary. The answer reveals the root of your attachment, your fear of being overlooked, of not being enough, or of losing them if you stop trying so hard. But here's the paradox. The harder you try to hold on to someone, the less likely they are to stay. People don't value what's handed to them without effort. Stoicism teaches us that true power comes from within, not from external validation. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Right now, your want, their approval, is holding you captive. Imagine what it would feel like to let that go. Imagine the freedom of no longer obsessing over their attention or approval. How much lighter would your life become? Detachment begins with a simple but profound shift. Instead of focusing on what they think of you, focus on what you think of yourself. Start building a life that excites you, independent of their involvement. What are your passions? What are the goals you've been putting off because you've been too busy chasing them? Take that energy you've been pouring into them and redirect it toward yourself. Think of detachment as creating space, not distance but space. Space for them to step forward instead of you always being the one chasing. Space for them to miss you, wonder about you, and realize your value. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about genuinely becoming someone whose life is so full and vibrant that they can't help but want to be a part of it. Now, this isn't easy. Detachment is a practice, not a switch you can flip. There will be moments when you feel the urge to text them, to remind them you're there, to make yourself available just in case they decide to choose you. But every time you resist that urge, you're strengthening your inner resolve. You're teaching yourself that you don't need their attention to feel valuable. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I stop chasing them? Picture this transformation. You're no longer the one anxiously waiting by the phone, hoping for a message or an invitation. Instead, you're the one pursuing your goals, living your passions, and creating a life you're proud of. You're not sitting in the bargain bin anymore. You're the gem on display, admired from afar because you've chosen to value yourself. And here's the most powerful part. When you master detachment, you shift the dynamic. Suddenly, they're not the ones in control. You are. You're no longer dependent on their validation because you've built a foundation of self-worth that doesn't rely on anyone else. They'll notice this change. They'll see the strength and confidence that comes from within, and that's when they'll start seeing you differently, not as an option, but as someone irreplaceable. Detachment doesn't mean walking away or shutting people out. It means standing tall in your own life, confident and whole, whether they're by your side or not. It's the ultimate expression of self-respect and strength, and it's one of the most attractive qualities you can have. So let me leave you with this thought. What could you achieve if you stopped chasing them and started chasing your own growth instead? That's the essence of mastering detachment. It's not about losing them, it's about finding yourself. And when you do that, you won't need to be their first choice because you'll already be your own. Would you like me to continue with the next principle? 4. Avoid push-away behaviors. Let's get real. How many times have you caught yourself overthinking, overdoing, or overgiving in a relationship? Maybe you text them too often, always checking in to see how they're feeling. Or you find yourself explaining your actions repeatedly, seeking reassurance that everything is fine. Perhaps you even compare yourself to others, wondering if you're measuring up. It's a vicious cycle, isn't it? One that leaves you feeling insecure, drained, and even further from the connection you're desperately trying to build. The truth is, these are what I call push-away behaviors. They seem harmless on the surface, maybe even caring. But in reality, they create tension and distance, pushing people away instead of drawing them closer. So let's break this down and get honest about the patterns that might be holding you back. One of the most common push-away behaviors is over-texting. You might think I just want to show them I care, but from their perspective, it can come across as needy or desperate. Imagine receiving text after text from someone. What feeling does that create? Instead of excitement, it often creates pressure, the kind of pressure that makes people want to pull back. Relationships should feel like a flow, not a flood. Ask yourself, am I reaching out because I genuinely have something to share or because I'm seeking validation? And what about over-explaining? This one is sneaky because it often feels like you're just being clear or communicative. But when you constantly justify your actions or emotions, you're sending an unspoken message. I don't trust myself and I need you to validate me. That lack of confidence doesn't build attraction, it erodes it. Instead, let your actions and words stand on their own. Trust that you don't need to explain every detail of your decisions. Confidence speaks louder than explanations ever will. Another push-away behavior is people-pleasing. This is a tough one because it's rooted in a desire to be kind and accommodating. But when you're constantly putting their needs above your own, sacrificing your time, energy, and happiness just to keep them around, you're telling them that your boundaries don't matter. Over time, this creates imbalance and resentment on both sides. Let me ask you, what message are you sending when you prioritize their happiness at the expense of your own? Comparing yourself to others is another silent killer of connection. Whether you're sizing yourself up against their ex, their friends, or even strangers on social media, you're feeding insecurity. You're telling yourself and them that you're not enough as you are. But here's the truth. Comparison is the thief of joy. Instead of looking outward, focus inward. What makes you unique? What strengths and qualities do you bring to the table? Own those and let go of the need to compete. Let's not forget the tendency to assume the worst. Do you catch yourself overanalyzing every little thing they do or don't do? Maybe they don't text back right away, and your mind races with worst-case scenarios. This habit doesn't just create anxiety for you, it creates stress for them. No one wants to feel like they're walking on eggshells. Ask yourself, am I creating problems that don't exist because of my own fears? Now, here's the good news. Recognizing push-away behaviors is the first step toward breaking them. You're not stuck in these patterns. With self-awareness and intentional change, you can shift the energy in your relationships and create the kind of connection you truly want. So how do you stop these behaviors? Start by practicing Stoicism. Focus on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and emotions, and let go of the things you can't, like their reactions or decisions. Marcus Aurelius reminds us you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Instead of overgiving, overthinking, or over-explaining, channel that energy into yourself. For example, when you feel the urge to text them for the third time in an hour, pause. Ask yourself, what am I hoping to achieve? If it's reassurance, turn inward instead. Remind yourself that your worth isn't dependent on their immediate response. Or, when you catch yourself comparing, flip the script. Instead of asking, why am I not like them? Ask, what makes me uniquely valuable? Another powerful tool is setting boundaries with yourself. If you tend to over-text, set a limit. If you over-explain, practice saying less and trusting that it's enough. Boundaries aren't just about protecting yourself from others, they're about protecting yourself from your own patterns. Here's the beauty of letting go of push-away behaviors. It creates space. Space for ease, for balance, and for genuine connection. When you're not gripping so tightly, the relationship can breathe. They'll feel the difference, and so will you. Picture this. Instead of chasing, overthinking, or clinging, you're calm, centered, and confident. They start noticing the shift. Suddenly, you're not the one always seeking their attention, they're seeking yours. That's the power of stepping back and letting the connection flow naturally. If this feels challenging, remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a daily commitment to showing up differently in your relationships. But with each small step, you're reclaiming your power and creating a dynamic that draws people toward you instead of pushing them away. If you've made it this far, it's time to take action. Hit that like button to show you're ready to break free from old habits. And if you're serious about transforming your relationships, comment number 1 below. Let's make this the moment you take control of your narrative. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights like this. You're on a journey, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. The best is yet to come. 5. build independence and self-respect. Think for a moment about the way you approach your relationships. Are you losing parts of yourself in the process of trying to keep someone close? Do you find yourself rearranging your schedule, sacrificing your goals, or even setting aside your values, all in an effort to make them happy? If the answer is yes, it's time to stop and ask yourself a critical question. Who am I outside of this relationship? Independence and self-respect are the foundation of any meaningful connection. Without them, you risk losing your sense of self. You become so focused on pleasing someone else that you forget the things that make you unique, the passions that ignite your spirit, and the boundaries that protect your well-being. This isn't just unhealthy, it's unattractive. People are drawn to those who stand firmly in their own lives, who have their own goals and purpose, and who don't revolve around someone else's approval. Imagine yourself as a tree. Your roots, your values, passions, and goals keep you grounded, steady, and resilient, no matter how strong the winds of life or relationships may blow. When you neglect your roots, you become unsteady, bending too far to accommodate someone else's expectations. But when you nurture those roots, you create a solid foundation that makes you unshakable. Independence isn't about distancing yourself from others. It's about having a life that's rich and fulfilling, whether someone is by your side or not. Self-respect goes hand in hand with independence. It's the quiet confidence that says, I know my worth, and I won't settle for less than I deserve. Think about the times you've let go of your boundaries because you didn't want to upset someone. Maybe you agreed to plans that inconvenienced you, allowed someone to treat you poorly without speaking up, or compromised on something important to keep the peace. Each time you do this, you send a message to yourself and to them that your needs don't matter. And if you don't respect your own needs, why would they? The key to building independence and self-respect is learning to prioritize yourself without apology. Start by carving out time for your passions, hobbies, and personal growth. What are the things you love doing? The activities that make you lose track of time. Reconnect with those. When you invest in yourself, you're not only creating a life that fulfills you, you're also becoming someone others admire and respect. Another important step is setting boundaries and keeping them. Boundaries aren't walls meant to keep people out, they're guidelines that protect your energy and well-being. They're a way of saying, this is how I deserve to be treated, and I won't accept anything less. Setting boundaries might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to putting others first. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Remember, boundaries aren't selfish, they're essential for healthy relationships. Let's talk about the power of saying no. How often do you say yes to things you don't want to do because you're afraid of disappointing someone? Maybe you agree to plans that conflict with your priorities or accept behavior that doesn't align with your values. Saying no can feel difficult, even confrontational, but it's one of the most powerful ways to assert your independence and self-respect. It shows that you value your time, energy, and happiness enough to protect them. Self-respect also means refusing to play the role of the backup plan. You know, the one, always available, always waiting, always ready to drop everything for them. When you make someone your priority while they treat you as an option, you're devaluing yourself. Instead, focus on becoming the main character in your own life. Pursue your goals, nurture your passions, and build a life so vibrant and fulfilling that they'll want to be a part of it, not because you need them to complete you, but because your independence and self-respect make you irresistible. Now, let's address a common fear. What if my independence pushes them away? This fear stems from the idea that people only stay when they're needed. But think about it. Would you want someone who only values you when they feel you're dependent on them? True connection is built on mutual respect, not dependency. When you cultivate independence, you're not pushing them away. You're showing them that you're whole and confident on your own, which is far more attractive than desperation. Imagine how this transformation might look. You're no longer the person who rearranges their schedule or compromises their values to keep someone happy. Instead, you're pursuing your dreams, sticking to your boundaries, and living a life that excites you. They see your strength, your self-assuredness, and your purpose, and it draws them in. They realize that being with you is a privilege, not a given. But independence and self-respect aren't just about how others perceive you. They're about how you perceive yourself. When you honor your values, prioritize your happiness, and refuse to settle, you're telling yourself, I am enough. And that belief radiates outward, affecting every aspect of your life and relationships. So let me ask you, what could you achieve if you stopped putting someone else's needs above your own? What kind of life could you build if you focused on your passions, your goals, and your growth? Independence and self-respect aren't barriers to connection. They're the foundation of it. They're what make you magnetic, unforgettable, and ultimately, someone's first choice. When you embrace these principles, you're not just transforming your relationships, you're transforming yourself. And that's where the real magic happens. Would you like me to continue with the next principle? 6. Communicate clearly. Let me ask you something. How often do you hold back from saying what you really feel or need because you're afraid of how the other person might react? Maybe you sugarcoat your words, hoping to avoid conflict, or you stay silent altogether, convincing yourself that they should already know what I want. But here's the truth. No matter how strong your values are or how high your standards might be, if you can't communicate them clearly, they lose their power. Clear communication isn't just about saying words, it's about speaking with purpose and confidence. It's about expressing yourself in a way that leaves no room for doubt about where you stand or what you expect. When you can do this, you create trust, respect, and connection. Without it, relationships become a guessing game, full of assumptions and misunderstandings. Think of communication as the bridge between you and the other person. If that bridge is weak, made of half-truths, unspoken feelings, or vague expectations, it won't hold up under the weight of a real connection. But if it's strong, built with honesty, clarity, and intention, it becomes a foundation for something lasting. Here's where people often go wrong. They either over-communicate, explaining themselves to the point of exhaustion, or they under-communicate, expecting the other person to read their mind. Neither approach works. Over-communicating can come across as insecure, as if you're trying to justify your right to feel or think a certain way. Under-communicating, on the other hand, breeds frustration because unspoken needs and boundaries inevitably lead to unmet expectations. Let me give you an example. Imagine you value punctuality, but the person you're dating is always late. Instead of fuming silently or exploding after the third time, try saying, I feel disrespected when we don't start on time. Can we agree to make punctuality a priority? Notice how this is direct, respectful, and focused on the behavior rather than attacking the person. It's not about blaming, it's about creating a dialogue that invites understanding and resolution. Another aspect of clear communication is being upfront about your needs. Many people avoid this because they don't want to come across as demanding. But here's the thing. Expressing your needs isn't selfish, it's a form of self-respect. It shows that you value yourself enough to voice what matters to you. And here's a secret. When you clearly communicate your needs, you make it easier for others to meet them. They don't have to guess or assume, they know exactly what you're looking for. Let's take it one step further. Clear communication also means setting boundaries. For example, if someone's behavior crosses a line, don't let it slide. Say something. It can be as simple as, I'm not comfortable with that, and I'd like us to handle it differently next time. Boundaries aren't about punishing someone, they're about teaching them how to interact with you in a way that's healthy and respectful. But it's not just about speaking, it's also about listening. True communication is a two-way street. When someone shares their thoughts or feelings, give them your full attention. Don't listen just to respond, listen to understand. This creates a safe space where both of you feel seen and heard, which strengthens the connection. Ask yourself, am I truly listening, or am I just waiting for my turn to talk? Now, let's address the role of tone. How you say something is just as important as what you say. For instance, instead of saying, you're always late, and it's annoying, you could say, I feel upset when we don't start on time because it feels like my time isn't valued. See the difference? The first statement is accusatory, while the second invites understanding. Clear communication isn't about being blunt or harsh, it's about being honest with kindness. Here's where Stoicism can be a game changer. It teaches us to stay calm, composed, and focused on what we can control. When you approach communication with this mindset, you're less likely to let emotions take over. Instead, you can focus on what needs to be said and how to say it effectively. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Apply this to communication. Don't waste time arguing. Speak your truth and let your actions align with it. When you master clear communication, you set yourself apart. People notice the confidence in your words, the respect in your tone, and the authenticity in your message. They remember someone who doesn't dance around the truth or hide behind silence. They respect someone who can express themselves openly and invite others to do the same. Imagine how your relationships would change if you could clearly articulate your thoughts, needs, and boundaries without fear. Instead of feeling frustrated or misunderstood, you'd feel empowered. And instead of wondering where you stand with others, you'd know, because you built that clarity through your words. If this resonates with you, take a moment to show your commitment to this transformation. Hit that like button to affirm that you're ready to master clear communication. And comment number 1 below if this is the shift you've been waiting for. Don't forget to subscribe. This journey is just beginning, and there's so much more to uncover. Together, we'll continue to explore how to build stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling connections. You deserve it, and the tools are here for you. Let's keep going. Would you like me to continue with the next principle? 7. Show growth through action. Let's talk about growth, not the kind you brag about, but the kind you live. Have you ever stopped to think about what your actions say about you? Not just to others, but to yourself. Growth isn't about making announcements or seeking validation. It's about quietly evolving, learning, and improving in ways that are unmistakable to anyone who takes the time to notice. One of the most powerful things you can do to shift how others perceive you is to focus on your personal growth. But why does this matter so much? Because people are drawn to movement, progress, and purpose. When you're committed to becoming a better version of yourself, you create an energy that's magnetic. It signals that you're not stagnant, waiting for life or anyone else to happen to you. Instead, you're shaping your future step by step. Growth doesn't need to be flashy. It's not about constantly talking about your achievements or flaunting success. It's about consistency, resilience, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're working on yourself. Think about the times you've been inspired by someone, not because they told you they were growing, but because their actions made it undeniable. That's the kind of impact you want to create. Start by asking yourself, what areas of my life need growth? It might be your health, your career, your relationships, or your mindset. The beauty of growth is that it's personal. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's journey. Maybe it's learning a new skill, adopting healthier habits, or simply becoming more mindful of your thoughts and actions. Whatever it is, commit to it. Not for them, but for you. Here's the thing. Growth isn't just about forward motion, it's also about resilience. Life will challenge you, and how you respond to those challenges says a lot about who you are. When you face difficulties with a mindset of learning and perseverance, you're not just showing strength, you're building it. And that strength doesn't go unnoticed. People respect those who rise after falling, who keep going even when it's hard. Ask yourself, am I showing resilience or am I letting setbacks define me? Growth also requires stepping out of your comfort zone. It's easy to stay where things feel familiar and safe, but real progress happens when you stretch yourself. Whether it's taking on a new challenge, confronting a fear, or letting go of something that no longer serves you, growth demands courage. It asks you to trust yourself enough to take risks, not reckless ones, but the kind that lead to meaningful change. Think about how this growth translates into your relationships. When you're actively improving yourself, you're not just becoming more fulfilled, you're becoming more inspiring. The people in your life start to see you differently. They notice your drive, your curiosity, and your ability to adapt. And that's attractive, not in a superficial way, but in a way that makes them want to be a part of your journey. Let's connect this to Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This means that challenges aren't obstacles, they're opportunities for growth. When you embrace this mindset, you're not just growing, you're showing others that you're unshaken by adversity. That kind of stability and focus is rare, and it leaves a lasting impression. Now, let me be clear. Growth isn't about perfection. It's not about becoming someone who has everything figured out. It's about showing that you're willing to put in the work to reflect, to learn, and to improve. Even small steps matter. Over time, they add up to something profound. But how do you show growth without coming across as boastful or self-centered? By letting your actions speak for themselves. Instead of telling someone, "I've been working on myself," show them through the way you carry yourself, the choices you make, and the energy you bring into every interaction. Growth is most powerful when it's evident, not declared. For example, if you've been working on becoming more mindful, let it show in how you handle stress or conflict. If you've been focusing on your health, let it shine through your energy and vitality. If you've been learning something new, let your enthusiasm for it inspire others. This isn't about putting on a performance, it's about living authentically in a way that reflects your progress. Here's a question to ponder. What would my life look like if I fully committed to my growth? Close your eyes and imagine it. Picture the confidence, the purpose, and the sense of fulfillment that comes from knowing you're constantly evolving. That's the life you're building when you focus on growth. And that's the life others will be drawn to, not because you're chasing their attention, but because your journey inspires them. Ultimately, growth isn't just about attracting others, it's about becoming someone you're proud of. It's about waking up each day with a sense of purpose, knowing that you're a work in progress and embracing that process with excitement and gratitude. Take a moment to reflect. Am I showing my growth through my actions? If the answer is no, it's not too late to start. Every day is an opportunity to take one small step forward, to choose progress over complacency, and to let your actions speak louder than words. When you commit to this, you're not just transforming yourself, you're transforming the way others see you. Growth isn't just attractive, it's irresistible. It shows that you're not waiting to be chosen, you're choosing yourself every single day. Would you like me to continue with the next principle? 8. Forge genuine connections. Have you ever felt the pressure to impress someone? To show only the polished, perfect version of yourself because you think that's what will make them like you? It's exhausting, isn't it? You craft your words carefully, you rehearse your actions, and yet something feels off. That's because real connections aren't built on perfection, they're built on authenticity. If you want to become someone's first choice, it starts with forging genuine connections, not with trying to be someone you're not. Here's a hard truth. People can sense when someone isn't being real. You might think you're doing a great job hiding your insecurities or overplaying your strengths, but deep down, others can feel the disconnect. They may not be able to pinpoint it, but they know something's missing. Authenticity, on the other hand, creates a spark that nothing else can replicate. It's the foundation for trust, respect, and lasting attraction. So let's break this down. What does it mean to forge a genuine connection? First, it's about showing up as your true self, flaws and all. Think about the people you're closest to. Are you drawn to them because they're perfect or because they're real? Because they let you see their quirks, their struggles, and their joys without pretense. That's the kind of connection you want to create. But it requires vulnerability, and that's where many people struggle. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. It's saying, this is who I am, and I'm okay with that, even if it means you might not accept me. Imagine the freedom that comes with letting go of the need to impress and simply being yourself. When you're authentic, you give others permission to do the same, and that's where true connection begins. Here's a powerful way to start. Practice active listening. Most people are so focused on what they're going to say next that they miss the chance to truly hear the other person. The next time you're in a conversation, challenge yourself to listen without planning your response. Pay attention to their words, their tone, their body language. Ask thoughtful questions that show you're genuinely interested in understanding them. Not only does this deepen the connection, but it also makes you unforgettable. Because in a world full of noise, being truly heard is a rare and priceless gift. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you let someone see the real you? Not the curated version, but the unfiltered, honest version. If it's been a while, it's time to change that. Start small. Share something personal, a story, a feeling, a dream, without worrying about how it will be received. The right people will appreciate your honesty, and the wrong ones, they were never meant to be in your life anyway. Another key to forging genuine connections is aligning your actions with your words. Consistency builds trust. If you say you value honesty, be honest. If you say you want mutual respect, show respect. People notice when your actions and values align, and it creates a sense of reliability that strengthens the bond. Let's connect this to Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In the context of relationships, this means don't just talk about being genuine, live it. Let your authenticity guide your interactions. When you're consistent and true to yourself, you become someone others want to connect with, not because you're trying to win them over, but because you're grounded in your own truth. Now, let's address something that might be holding you back. The fear of rejection. It's natural to worry that if you show your true self, they might not accept you. But think about this. Would you rather be chosen for who you really are or for a version of yourself that's exhausting to maintain? Genuine connections can only be built on authenticity. If someone doesn't accept the real you, they're not your person, and that's okay. Picture this transformation. Instead of overthinking every interaction, you're approaching relationships with curiosity and openness. You're not worried about impressing them, you're focused on understanding them and letting them understand you. This shift creates an ease and depth that can't be faked. And that's what makes you stand out, not the effort to be perfect, but the courage to be real. Here's the beauty of forging genuine connections. They're sustainable. When you build relationships based on authenticity, you don't have to constantly perform or prove yourself. The connection flows naturally because it's rooted in truth. And the people who are drawn to you are there because they appreciate the real you, not a version you created to fit their expectations. If this resonates with you, take a moment to act on it. Hit that like button if you're ready to embrace authenticity and let go of the pressure to impress. And if you're serious about transforming the way you connect with others, comment number 1 below. Let's celebrate the choice to show up as your true self and create relationships that matter. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights like this. This is just the beginning of your journey towards stronger, deeper, and more fulfilling connections. Together, we'll continue to explore what it means to live authentically and attract the respect and love you deserve. The best is yet to come, and I can't wait to see where it takes you. Let's keep growing together. You've made it to the end, and now it's time to reflect on everything we've covered. Becoming someone's first choice isn't about tricks or manipulation, it's about transformation. It's about stepping into your power, valuing yourself, and creating a life that draws others in because of your authenticity, strength, and self-respect. We've explored 8 principles that can completely shift how you approach relationships, and more importantly, how you see yourself. From choosing yourself first to setting high standards, mastering detachment, avoiding push-away behaviors, building independence, communicating clearly, showing growth, and forging genuine connections, these aren't just ideas. They're actions you can take today to become the person you've always wanted to be. But here's the real takeaway. You don't need anyone's validation to feel whole. You are already enough. These principles aren't about changing yourself to fit someone else's expectations. They're about uncovering the version of you that's confident, fulfilled, and magnetic in your own right. Ask yourself, what will my life look like if I start applying these principles today? Imagine the strength you'll feel, the respect you'll command, and the connections you'll create when you fully embrace your worth. This isn't just about relationships, it's about every part of your life. When you choose yourself, set boundaries, communicate clearly, and show up authentically, everything changes. Now it's time for action. If this video has resonated with you, don't just watch, commit. Hit that like button to affirm that you're ready to step into this new version of yourself. Write number 1 in the comments to show that you're choosing yourself first starting now. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights and tools to help you along this journey. There's so much more to explore, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Remember, this isn't the end, it's the beginning. Keep applying these principles, stay true to yourself, and watch as your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. Thank you for being here, for showing up for yourself, and for being willing to grow. Here's to becoming the first choice, not just for them, but for yourself. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, take care and stay true to who you are. You've got this.